Welcome back to our Creativity Delivered July 2020 projects using the Well Done bundle. You guys, this next card I absolutely love. It's going to be so much fun, and it has a neat little technique using ink and an embossing folder. So I am going to be using this brand new seaweed looking embossing folder. I don't even know the name of it, but you're going to use this embossing folder. If you don't have it, don't panic. There's lots of other embossing folders that would work. There's ones that look like waves. There's ones that, you can do bubbles. You can do all kinds of different backgrounds, but you're going to need an embossing folder for this technique. You will also need to fill your stamp and spritzer, which is in your kit this month, with some water because we're going to be using that. There are 3 inks that you'll need. You need Pacific Point, Balmy Blue, and Pool Party inks, along with sponge daubers to apply the color. And of course, we need our punch and our stamp set. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you how to make this really fun background. So we're going to be using the embossing folder. Inside your kit, you have a piece of watercolor paper. This is 4 inches by 5 1/4. We're going to use that here in a second once we've inked up our embossing folder. So we have Pacific Point, Balmy Blue, and Pool Party inks. And what we're going to do is use our sponge dauber to put down some of this color. So we'll go ahead and just ink up our embossing folder in no particular order, or you're just going to apply ink to this embossing folder in different spots, okay? Now let's go ahead and do Balmy Blue. So just putting this ink all along our embossing folder. And then last but not least, we have our Pacific Point. And you can see I'm not being, precise or anything. It's just wherever the ink lands, that's where the ink's going. Okay, and you don't have to do a lot. You can have white spots. So once you've gotten it all inked up, now your stamp and spritzer comes into play. So let me close these up and I will show you. We are going to spritz our embossing folder. Now make sure that you're doing this on the side that has the Stampin' Up! Label. That's the front of our embossing folder. That's the side that's going to have the ink. So take your spritzer and just activate the ink with water. You don't need a lot. It doesn't need to be running. It doesn't need to be crazy. It just needs to be enough that the ink will come off of the embossing folder and stick on our piece of watercolor paper. So now we're going to stick our watercolor paper down in the middle of that and close it. Turn it over. Take your embossing folder, take your Big Shot and run it through. And that's going to make that impression in the ink on our paper. And now every time you do this, it's going to be different, and every time it's going to be a different color combination, but there is that beautiful background. Now to clean this, you're going to take it over to your sink and rinse it with some water and then pat it dry with a paper towel. You want to do that because there's tiny little crevices that the ink gets into, and so you just want to make sure by using the sink and using water, running water, you can make sure you get all the little cracks and crevices. Look how pretty that background is. Isn't that a fun watery color or watery background? We're going to set this aside to dry while we stamp our sentiment and our whale. So we have our sentiment and our whale, and inside your folder or inside your card base you have a label, and this label was punched using one of our current punch labels. It's perfect for our sentiment. And then we have our whale. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to use 3 inks, and we're going to use a sponging technique to get the inks on our images. So Pool Party first. Pool Party is going to be at the top, and we'll do our whale at the same time. How about that? Multitasking. So I'm doing Pool Party at the top of the sentiment and at the bottom of the whale. And then Balmy Blue in the middle of our whale and the middle of our word. And then Pacific Point in the bottom of our, oh, I meant to do the top of our whale, dang it. And the bottom of our word. I should have done one at a time. See what happens? I got confused. Well, our whale's going to be interesting colors, so I can't wait to see what he turns out to be. But first, before we stamp, we need to huff. Huff on your stamp to activate that ink and stamp down. Awesome, awesome. I love that tone on tone. Now I'm huffing my whale and inking him and stamping him as well. Very fun. Okay. So now we can close these up. You will have inky fingers for this technique. I'm just warning you. If you guys can't tell, my fingers are very inky. Alrighty, so now we're going to punch our whale out. Slide him in your punch, line him up. Punch him out. Okay, and we're going to put some ribbon in the back of our label here. So what I like to do when I'm doing a zigzag pattern of ribbon is I like to flip my label over and put some adhesive down, and this helps hold the ribbon down as I do my little zigzag pattern. So just start on one side and glue it down to our label. And I think I need to move this down just a little bit to give myself some room. Okay. Okay, so once you've got your ribbon glued down, you can trim it down and put some dimensionals on the back. Let's do one more. Oof, I've got ink. I've got ink to spare on my fingers. I probably need to take a second and clean those. Clean my fingers. Okay, so while we do that, hopefully my watercolor piece is dry and we can glue it down. Okay, so take your base, take your piece of watercolor paper, make sure that it's dry. Mine's a little bit damp, so I'm gonna just heat set it really quick here. Awesome, awesome. All right, now we're gonna put adhesive on the back. I recommend a strong adhesive, whether it be Seal Plus, Fast Fuse, tear and tape, something strong, because when you use watercolor, your paper can warp. And glue this background piece down. Isn't that a gorgeous background? Now we're going to peel the backings off of our label here. Okay, and we're going to glue this down to our card. Now let's go ahead and put dimensionals on the back of our whale. And glue him to the top of our label. Oops, don't cover your words. Yay! So cute. Such a fun technique. I hope you guys enjoyed this technique and you enjoyed playing with this awesome whale bundle. Thank you guys for joining me. See you later.